listener says, Lester, blame the politicians for the lack of social cohesion. Yes, of course, we can talk about the narrow party interests of politicians, but what about the personal responsibility of getting outside of your bubble? If you take a car, take the bus or a taxi or a train to work. See how the others live and then talk. Hello, good morning when you get on the train. How's your day going? Are you fine? Great. But that is one of the slogans of the group, the Betereinders, not to be confused with the Betereinders. The motto is stop complaining, do good, work together. They're a group of white South Africans who say that they're refusing to give up on making this country a better place for all. They say they're dedicated to reconciliation and also restitution. And so they did not take kindly to the group of white Afrikaans-speaking South Africans who boarded a plane for the US, which is their right. Happy for them. But on what basis? The basis was a lie. And so to make their point, the Betereinders, they've organized a refuse to flee soccer tournament. They're going to the Kameeldrift informal settlement in Pretoria North this weekend. And so they're inviting other people to join them and to so-called braai with their oppressors. Schalk van Heerden is the chairperson of the Betereinders. You just love a turn of phrase from Betereinders and not Betereinders to come play some ball and braai with your oppressors in the Kameeldrift settlement. Schalk, good morning. Hope you're well.
Morning, Lester. Goedemorgen. It's very nice to talk to you, and your intro already made me smile, so thank you. We do like a turn of phrase, because as a South African, if I don't laugh, I'll cry. And it can always get worse. You know, I work at a church, and I like being naughty a bit. So learning soccer at an old age was so difficult for me as a boertjie. So this one we're saying, skill the boer, because we need some skills on the field. So.
Skill the boer. I love that. But look, I has always been told, kan nie klaar nie, want klaar is net skinne van yourself. So instead of talking ill about ourselves, let's work together. The Betereinders campaign has been growing over the last while, hasn't it?
Yeah, you know, it's so fascinating. I just want to clarify the 49 or 59 that went to the US, we don't have any, or I don't have any issue with them. There's been hundreds of thousands that have left the country for various reasons. And although I'm a little bit sad about it, I lived in Mozambique for 10 years myself, so there's no issue with anyone going. I think what we realize is if you're staying, you must stay as in you're really staying, not with the mentality of fleeing and running away and looking for other ways and then talking about South Africa. So like a groot trek, I see people now say the foot checkers and the great check and whatever. I think many people have never lived and moved into the real South Africa. So the trek that I would like to do is not to another place, but deeper into my own country, because if you stay, you have to stay. And I think that's the heart of our campaign, is not really beef with the USA or even people going anywhere in the world. We all have loved ones overseas. But if you're going to stay, let's stay completely, being loyal, getting rid of fear and anger. There's a lot of problems. We'll fix that together. So I just want you to catch that. That's the heart of our thing, is we don't have beef with people going. We have beef with people not managing to stay because they're not feeling welcome. And that's why we use humor and naughtiness to kind of just ease the tension.
I appreciate the campaign, and I opened up my show this morning of how do we identify people who are opposite to us, whether it be a man and a woman, a heterosexual person and a queer person, someone who takes public transport, or someone who has the privilege of going to a car to work, my idea is you identify your opposite and you literally go with him. You spend a day with him, and you maybe could spend a couple of days, or maybe even share life with him, a lifetime with him. But I appreciate the campaign, but let me be a little bit probing here and ask, well, these campaigns are great. You have white South Africans going into informal settlements, having a braai, having a soccer tournament, but at the end of the day, you get to leave and drive home and go live in a comfortable suburban setting when the people who are of those communities, they have to stay there and their lives continue, Schalk.
Yeah, it's such an important question that you're raising. And that's in the end why I ended up going from a short trip to Mozambique to staying there for 8 years, because I realized these very things that you're talking about, and I had to learn to speak Portuguese and this and that. So I had my own story, and then when I came back to South Africa, I had these values that you're talking about in me. And if I can take, I'm part of the Sonderbok, the Dutch Reformed Church in Randburg, Joburg, and we've been going to this Kameeldrift now for 14 years. And sometimes on the 16th December, we make a lager with our fortunates, the cars we have the privilege to drive, and we braai inside the lager on 16th December. So we've been trying to build relationships a long time. But then what happened is a while ago, 60 of the shacks burned down. And us from Joburg were the first, the Boertjies, we were the first to be in Kameeldrift with food, 60-60, and zincs, and rebuilding the shacks. And then a few days later, everyone from Pretoria showed up. And then a few weeks later, the politicians showed up with their cars. So the talk can never be cheap. And what's amazing is one of the old ladies that donated clothes to Kameeldrift a couple of years ago, she was hiding her firearm in the clothing, and then she donated it. So I'm in the township, and here comes a young girl. She walks up to me, she said, "Schalk, I think one of your friends left this in the clothing bag," and she gave me a weapon with bullets in it. So the trust level we have in Kameeldrift is not like this typical cheap, quick, go Mandela Day, paint a crash and get out of there. There's a type of a solidarity, and I don't have to virtue signal with all the deeper stories. All I can say is when you go into a space, it must be a long-term, genuine commitment that touches on you. That's why we're saying versoening en gerechtigheid and restitution. Maybe just a flip side, because some say we shouldn't go to the townships. Others say we shouldn't invite black people into white spaces. This weekend we had the university choir in our church and a lot of other black people. And I got a text from a white male, Afrikaner male, and he said, "I was in tears on Sunday. It was the first time I felt at home in South Africa in my life." So I think all these things are very, in a way, complicated, but in a way easy if we get into each other's spaces and stay committed long term. So yes, you're very right in what you're saying. Is that there can never be cheap posturing.
Schalk, I really want you back next week because there's all these ideas and questions that I want to unpack with you on what you just said on feeling home. I want to talk about the concept of boxes and markers, whether you're a verligtinger or whether you're verkrampt or whether you're a liberal or whether you're conservative. We just won't have enough time. So could we, after this weekend's football tournament in Kameeldrift, can we invite you back next week? Because I want to talk about these ideas of how we put people in boxes. Look, I didn't appreciate a lot what Ernie Els said, particularly, but he represents a part of South Africa that is also me, and unfortunately, there's parts of the MK and EFF that also represent a part of me. In fact, there's a part of AfriForum that also represents a part of me in South Africa. So I want to unpack that. How do we see each other, whether you're verkrampt or verligting, or whether you liberal, progressive, or conservative? I really want to talk about that. So would you be able to join us again next week?
I'd be very happy to join you. I just want to sneak in one sentence. After this braai and soccer and just chilling as humans together, when that's done at 1:00 on Saturday tomorrow, we're having a talk about an alternative Afrikaner verklaring, because last year they made one. And many people felt that's not my type of Afrikaner, or that's not how I feel. So I'll struggle with our identity and what it means to be a South African and Afrikaner. It's very important to dig deep on that because we have all these differences. So I'll be happy to keep on talking.
No, I'm going to invite you back next week for a full half hour, maybe with some other speakers as well. But one question from a listener, is there going to be ever a Cape Town campaign? Of course, you can make your own campaign wherever you are, but any idea of creating some sort of Betereinders campaign here in Cape Town as well? Another Brian football team?
Yeah, the problem in Cape Town is, for me as an Afrikaner here in Joburg, I've realized I'm not in charge. So some people in the Cape first need to learn that, it's over, we're not in charge, and find a new way. So I don't know. You've got your own issues.
I'll be glad to invite you. We'll go. We'll go have some fun here in Cape Town and bringing people together. Schalk van Heerden, chairperson of the Betereinders. Really appreciate that. We'll have him back next week.